Hello, me again, talking from my position above base camp 2. So pre-apology for this video that I'm not getting on with it, but I do feel that it's very important that we get some basic information fresh in the memory before we go on to doing the human thing, because we're all so tied up in this being human business that I really don't think it harms that base information is lodged really very freshly in the brain. So I'm going to talk about the senses again and the machine code. And basically just the main stress of this video is, I suppose, consistency of information is what the brain is getting. I'm going to stick with the machine code and drop the icon analogy. Let's talk hearing. Hearing is vibration of the air. Does air exist? Anyway, vibrations out here that vibrate something in the ear, then sends, I don't know if it's electrical or chemical, I forget. These are all different from the different senses, so I'll just call them electrochemical. I don't think it's right, but we get the idea anyway. So we go vibrations of the air, vibrations of something in the body, which is the ear, inside the ear, and electrochemical representation, as in the vibration outside world. The inner ear tries to vibrate like this in a consistent manner, and again the electrochemical signals go off in a consistent manner. It's vibration, electrochemical, and as long as they're consistent in each stage, the brain can do something with it. It's not mediated, is that the right word? It's not messed about with by the ear. Its main job is to pass on the information in a consistent manner in whatever medium it happens to be. Sight is slightly different because the eyeball does actually do something with the light. Comes from sun today, hits camera, comes into the eye, as I vaguely remember the eye does, hitting the rods and cones and turning it upside down and sending it on up. The eye has done something in a way helpful for the brain. It's done some pre-sorting for the brain, I think, as I remember, but it's still electrochemicals, ultimately machine code that goes up to the brain, but the eye has done some pre-help for the brain. Nose and taste, again, all they have to be is consistent, like the ear. A coffee molecule lands on the the nose senses or the tongue senses. I think they're pretty tied up together, and it sends a consistent signal up to the brain in the machine code. What have we got left? Are we down to sensory feelings on the skin and inside the body? Even if we're not, let's go for that. That's a slightly different one, because whereas we've got sound coming in, vibrations to electrochemical consistency, it's as though the skin sensory feelings are trying something, but it's more by the volume, I think, of the amount of nerve cells that are out there, and that makes for the more helpful signal up in the brain, because you get more volume, but the actual feeling senses are extremely crude. Feeling, we should use another one because we'll come on to feelings when we're talking about human beings. Sensations? Feeling sensations? No. Touch sensations, pain sensations, sensations. Feelings, don't know what to call it. Touch sensations are very crude. I think they can just about do a hot and cold, but even hot and cold has to really be checked by the brain. If you do hot and cold where the brain isn't by other senses aware of what it is, the brain would like to check. Is that a very hot or a very cold? It doesn't really know. They can just about send up stabbing or dull thudding machine code, but very, very crude. That sort of interpretation is very, very largely left to the brain to sort out what to do with it. There's obviously a volume, but as I say, I think the volume control is more controlled by the quantity of nerve cells in the particular place. Lots of nerve cells on the fingertips, not so many on the knee. I don't know. So that's the way the volume's done, but the rest of it's very crude, coming from skin sensing, and the brain has to do an awful lot with it. So it's machine code, but the bulk of that stuff is done by El Brainio. So I'll leave it there, because this is just to keep fresh in the mind that the brain is dealing with what it's got, coming in from what we call the five senses. The eye has helped out slightly, otherwise things like the ear, nose and tongue the most helpful thing they can do is to pass on consistently what comes in, and as long as they pass it on consistently, the brain has something solid to work with. Again, the skin, the pain, skin sensation type things and bodily sensations are a slightly different ball game, that they are so crude and really have to be very strongly analysed by the brain, with just more volume of machine code coming in. It's quantity rather than quality. And I think I'll just leave it there, because all I'm repeating, all I'm trying to do is keep fresh before we go talking about being human and all the implications and the contexts and whether it's appropriate or not, that what the brain is dealing with is extremely crude machine code that mainly is useful because it's consistent, and then the brain deals with that consistency to make something of it. That's all. That's all.